free agents left. Where should they go? So let's talk about, a few of them that are left in free agency and some potential landing spots. So the first player I want to talk about is Precious Achiuwa. Precious Achiuwa was on the Knicks last year. If you watch this page, you know that I thought he should have had more minutes in the playoffs. I had no idea why he got DNPs. Like, it wasn't like he was injured, to my knowledge. He was just getting DNPs. And I'm not saying Precious Achiuwa, should have been playing 30 minutes a game or nothing like that. But, to play 0 minutes in a bunch of games where I felt like he could have helped them. Again, I talked about this in in a couple of live streams ago and just in general. You need your entire bench. You're going to need them all at some point. And even if he had only played 5 minutes in some of those games, those 5 minutes could have been, and I'm pretty sure I talked about this when I was talking about Precious during the playoffs, those 5 minutes could have been 2 rebounds, 3 rebounds, a block, 2 points, right? Playoff games are that close. That could be all the difference. So I say a lot to say. Precious Achiuwa is a free agent. It doesn't seem like he's going back to the Knicks at this point. I mean, I guess you never know, but it doesn't seem like that's happening. Right now, I saw a bunch of reports that the Heat are interested, which makes sense. He was on the Heat before, and they liked him. I don't think they wanted to give up Precious Achiuwa, but they had to I forgot what trade they made. I believe they made a trade with Toronto, right? And they gave him to Toronto? Is that what happened? Or maybe Toronto gave him to Miami? I can't remember what happened, but I know that Miami, or I believe Miami had traded him for somebody. I can't recall for whatever reason. And so, but the point is, they liked Precious. I don't think they wanted to give him up. I think they just had to get that deal done. Because whoever they had gotten done in that deal, again, if my memory serves me correctly, was someone they, needed or wanted more at that moment. So that being said, it completely makes sense to me, even if my memory is not correct. He was on the Miami Heat for sure. And I know that they did like him. So, at the end of the day, it definitely makes sense that Miami wants him back. He's a Miami Heat type of player. Hustle, hard player, energy, effort, everything. That's what Miami's all about. So I would not be surprised if he went back to the Miami Heat. I think it's a good fit for him. I don't know how much money they have to offer him, but again, the entire NBA really doesn't have any money. So I don't really think it's going to be a salary issue. Well, obviously he would like to get as much as he can, but there's not that much money to go around. So I wouldn't be shocked if he went back to Miami. It makes sense to me. Another free agent is actually someone who was in the NBA Finals, and that is Thomas Bryant. There really hasn't been much, talked about or reported on in regards to Thomas Bryant being a free agent. Despite, not saying he had the largest role on the Pacers, but he had some good moments in the playoffs. He definitely contributed. And so it doesn't look like the Pacers are bringing him back either at this moment. So where could Thomas Bryant go? Well, there are plenty of teams who, always want, a backup big and stuff like that. I heard that the Knicks are interested, in getting him. I don't know if it's a problem, but the problem with the Knicks is he would kind of be relegated to, the Precious Achiuwa role where it's like he's the third string center. Is he really going to get any minutes? Is he okay with that? That's the question. So I don't know if he's looking for like a lot of minutes. I'm sure he wants to play, so I don't know if the Knicks are realistic for him. You know, I've seen like not rumors per se, but like people saying like the Lakers could be a good fit for him. Although he was on the Lakers before, I believe, a couple of years ago. It wasn't that long ago, right? He was recently on the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers could use another center, so that's not a bad fit either. But again, is he going to go back? I don't know. Even though he was on Denver, unfortunately for him, Denver doesn't need a backup big anymore because they got Valanciunas now. So, Denver's not really a viable option for him. I don't, you know what? I don't dislike the Bucks as an option for him because I think he'll get playing time if he went to the Bucks. Does he want to go there? I don't know. But I could see him on the Bucks. I feel like that would make sense for him and he would get some playing time and I don't think that's a bad option for him. So maybe the Bucks for Thomas Bryant. And then some of the other free agents, like I don't know if you guys have Bleacher Report or stuff like that, but the Bleacher Report, notification came out maybe yesterday. Cameron Payne's not returning to the Knicks, which I think makes sense. He's not going to get any playing time anymore, especially with all the signings they have. Where does Cameron Payne go? I don't think that the Sixers will sign him, but I don't know why he feels like he could be on the Sixers to me. I don't know. I just feel like he could be on the Sixers. That's my opinion. I don't think he would necessarily get playing time, though. And I don't know if there's any mutual interest. I think the Sixers just signed Dennis Smith Jr., if I'm correct. So I don't think there's any Cameron Payne Sixers, link. But I don't know. I feel like it just makes sense in my head. Other than that, Cameron Payne we know is a streaky, scorer, shooter. So teams could always use somebody like that on their bench. So I'm sure he'll, have options. I don't know why the Kings sound realistic to me. Maybe the Kings, not sure. And then some of the other free agents, try and think of the ones that would make sense. I know Bull is free. Bull, I don't know who's interested in signing him. He's kind of had like a up and down, I guess, career so far, if you want to say. Like, he doesn't get a ton of playing time. Sometimes when he does play, he, puts up really amazing stats and stuff like that, but like, he just can't ever seem to find a consistent role for whatever reason. So he is free for an NBA team, but I don't know which team would be interested. So he's out there. DeLon Wright's out there. If you watch this page, I'm a fan of DeLon Wright. I have been for years. I always talk about how underrated he is, and every time he plays, he does good things, and I just can never understand, and I will never understand, unless I get, some kind of story from DeLon Wright one day, which obviously I've never spoken to him and I don't know him, but I would like to ask him why he has been on like 11 different teams. Because every time he plays, he's good. Like, some of these guys that end up being journeymen, to me, doesn't make sense. Like, I understand there's things that go on behind the scenes that we don't know about, and that's, kind of probably what's going on. But, like, I never understood why DeLon Wright doesn't get a consistent role and why he's constantly being forced. I don't even know if force is the right word, but, having to jump from team to team. Like, I don't understand why he can't find a consistent home. Like, genuinely, I don't understand. Because I think he's a good player. And I think that happens to some other players too, where I'm like, these players are good. I'm not saying certain players, that I'm talking about should be, you know, the star of those teams, but like the fact that some of these players like can't find a consistent home. The ones in my head that I'm talking about. I'm not saying this is true for everybody who jumps from team to team. There are players who, unfortunately, don't make the cut for whatever reason, whether it's, work ethic or they just, unfortunately their basketball skill is not up to par, you know, with some of the other players on the team and stuff like that. Like, I understand all that. So I'm not saying this is true of every player who is jumping from team to team. But there are players like DeLon Wright, like other players in the past, where I'm like, I'm not saying this player needs to be a star, but like, I just can't understand why this player or these players, this group, these groups of players, why it's like every single year they have to be on a different team when I think they're good enough to be, at least like the 8th or ninth man on the bench and not have to be, forced from team to team. I don't know. That's my opinion. So DeLon Wright's out there. He'll be on a new team, I'm positive, if he is somewhere, because he probably won't be going back to the Knicks. So DeLon Wright will be on another new team, unfortunately. Well, I don't know if it's unfortunate for him, but it's just like, again, unfortunate that some of these players just have to literally go on every single team every single year. I don't know if it's unfortunate for them. Maybe some of these players like doing that. Fair enough. I'm just saying. So he's out there. I'm trying to remember who else was on that free agent list that I looked at. I saw Chuma Okeke was on the list. He's still out there. There's obviously a bunch of players who were from the G League, like, Mac McClung is technically a free agent, which I know a lot of people have been asking for him to get a roster spot for years. I don't know if he's going to get one, but I know a lot of people really want Mac McClung to get one because obviously every year he shows out in the G League. We know this. So besides even the dunk contest, we know that he literally puts up crazy stats in the G League. So I don't know why he's not getting a roster spot. I couldn't tell you. But he is out there, for somebody. There was somebody else that I really wanted to talk about, and I can't remember who it was. I know Kai Jones was on the list. Torrey Craig was on the list. Torrey Craig's still 3-and-D guy, I don't know how much he'd be in anybody's rotation at this point in his career, but again, teams could always use 3-and-D guys, so I wouldn't rule him out being on a roster. There was somebody else, and I just can't remember who it was, but there was somebody else on the list that I was like, that player will get on a roster. And unfortunately, I can't remember for you guys. I'll remember after the video, but really, I guess you could say the two biggest names that are left are Precious Achiuwa and Thomas Bryant, though. Because those two players literally were like actual like rotation players for their teams, and had significant contributions, Like Thomas Bryant, I think against the Knicks, pretty sure it was in the Knicks series. He was like big time in game, 2, 3, whatever it was. I remember he was like out of the rotation because Tony Bradley took his place because he was like struggling a bit, and then he got inserted in again. I think Tony Bradley got hurt or something, and then he went crazy for like that whatever minute span. When I say crazy, I don't mean like he was putting up 20, but I mean like he had such a big impact in those like few minutes. Like they were even celebrating him because of it, especially because he fell out of the rotation. He was still like cheering everybody on and stuff like that and being a good sport. So Thomas Bryant could definitely help somebody, and so could Precious Achiuwa. So thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. I hope you enjoyed, and see you soon.